And welcome, you're watching Head to Head. I'm Antonina Antosha with UATV. The long-awaited agreement on the gas transit has finally been reached in trilateral gas talks between the European Union, Ukraine and Russia. It's still so-called agreement in principle, and a detailed contract is yet to be signed, but the fact itself is seen as a positive development by Europe. According to media reports, Russia has agreed to pay around $3 billion in compensation to Ukraine to comply with the decision of the Stockholm arbitration court. Under the terms of the 5-year deal, both sides guaranteed a minimum of 65 billion cubic meters of gas will be transported to Europe next year. Another 40 billion cubic meters will follow in the 4 years after 2020. To talk more about this, we'll welcome to the studio today Hennadiy Kobal. He is an expert on natural gas sector. Hello and thank you for joining us.
Thanks. Nice to meet you.
Likewise. So, as it has been announced, the agreement in principle has been reached by two parties, Ukraine and Russia. And there are two main issues that have been discussed and that have been, well, let's say, decided upon. This is the term of the deal, which is 5 years, and this is the amount or the volume of gas that is going to be transmitted, transported. Now, previously, Ukraine insisted on a 10-year term agreement. However, Russia agreed only on a 5-year term agreement. So how is this compromise going to affect the whole gas system of Ukraine? Is it a good thing or a bad thing, or is it not going to affect at all?
In general, we can say that this is a good result for Ukraine, because at the beginning Russia even don't know to sign any agreement for transportation, gas transportation to Europe. But now we have at least 5 years, and also we have opportunity to prolongate this agreement for 5 years. So together it will be probably 10 years. It's a very good result for Ukraine. 5 years already, and 5 years, if possible, as possible.
In perspective.
Yes. So it's very good for Ukraine.
We have a quote by Ukraine's Prime Minister, Mr. Goncharuk, on this deal and on the amount of transit of gas. So let's take a listen.
On
behalf of the President, the government delegation successfully completed the negotiations on signing a new contract on the transit of Russian gas to the European Union. In this regard, we will receive a contract for 5 years, with sufficient volumes to make Ukraine and Europe feel there is security in the energy sphere.
Another cornerstone issue that Ukraine was pushing through is to have a significant volume of gas for transition, approximately 60 billion cubic meters. Now, at first, parties agreed on 65 billion cubic meters to be transported next year, and during the following 4 years, it's 40 billion cubic meters. So in 2 years, it looks like Ukraine is going to transit less gas than now. Why, and how is it going to affect?
So 65 billion cubic meters, it's enough for Ukrainian transmission system, and it will be also depend how much Russia will pay for the transportation. So 40 billion cubic, a little bit less, but in general it's also enough to support Ukrainian transmission system in a good shape. But if we are talking about 40 billion cubic meter in from 2021,
from 2020,
yes. So it means that this is a minimum. If Russia do not complete building of South Stream 2, Nord Stream 2, yes, in that way Russia need to use Ukrainian transmission system even more than 40 billion cubic meters. This means that Ukraine can transit more gas to Europe in next 5 years.
So if I got you right, the total volume of gas transition through Ukrainian transmitting system depends on the fact whether the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline is going to be completed or not in the nearest years.
For sure, yes.
Okay, so this is the minimum amount of 40 billion cubic meters is to make sure that the Ukrainian transit system is still being used, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now we have quotes by two other officials about the agreement in principle and about the whole situation with the gas transit. Let's take a listen.
The transit deal will be prolonged. That's very important. The amount of money fixed by the Arbitration Institute of the Stockholm Chamber of Commerce will be paid off. Ukraine's Naftogaz will receive $2.9 billion. We will have the transit of gas for 5 years. It will be possible to prolong the deal under the same conditions for the next 10 years. According to European rules, it will be possible for all parties, including Russia's Gazprom and European companies, to book the facilities of the Ukrainian gas transmission system for a year, a month, a quarter, or even a day, and in this way integrate the Ukrainian market further into the European one.
So Mr. Orgel was speaking about paying off the debt. According to the decision of the Stockholm Arbitration Court, Gazprom still owes Naftogaz about $3 billion, and Russian side agreed to pay off the debt, even though beforehand they didn't want to pay it off. Now they agreed. However, both sides also promised to each other not to file any more lawsuits against each other. Is it a winning situation for Ukraine, considering that Russia is prone to violating the given promises and the settled agreements?
It's hard to say at the moment this is winning or lose, because it depends from many things. So nobody knows if Ukraine will win next arbitration in Stockholm for $12 billion dollars. So now Ukraine almost get this $3 billion, and this is a good result for Ukraine. This is a win. So if we are talking about the future, if we want to have some agreement with Gazprom, so we need to arrange our disagreement. So I think we don't have a lot of possibilities to talk with Russia. If we want to have agreement, so we need to arrange all things between this company, Naftogaz and Gazprom. So if we still have some different point of view for this agreement, we will have a lot of problem in the future. So I think at this situation we have got probably the best result as we can.
Let's hear what Ukraine's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Pristaiko, has to say about the gas transit deal.
I have reaffirmed that Ukraine continues to be a reliable partner in supplying natural gas for Europe. We are committed to the course towards the EU and NATO and expect support for a European integration from Germany during its presidency in the European Council in the second half of 2020.
The new wave of sanctions that came into force on December 21st in order to ensure European energy sector stability actually became quite a problem for the continuation of the building of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. In your opinion, what's the outcome of this whole situation? Will Europe, by the means of sanctions, actually secure its energy sector from Russia's ambitious and, let's be honest, politically motivated project?
So the idea to make a sanction against Nord Stream 2 was to stay Ukraine in the game. So Ukraine still be a big transition country to Europe. So this aim we got, and Ukraine for at least for next 5 years will be one of the biggest suppliers of gas to Europe. So this aim we got. For the future, it will depend from many things. So it will depend how Russia will provide Russians will provide their energy policy to Europe. So if they want to complete building of the Nord Stream 2, we will see it will be very difficult to do, because just few companies, building companies, can do this work, this job. So I think some company will do, but it will cost too much for them.
Well, we'll let official Moscow deal with their problems, and we will wait until the gas transit deal is finalized to learn about all the details. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
That was Hennadiy Kobal. He's the expert in natural gas sector. Thank you so much for watching Head to Head. My name is Antonina Antosha. Stay tuned with UATV for more.